Hello everyone, True Zero Emissions here. I hope you're having a great day, and we're going to talk about fast charging the Dualtron Storm Limited, which has a 45 amp hour battery. Okay everyone, are you ready for this? We're talking about a lot of power here. So I got some numbers together, and I'm really happy to be able to share these with you, and I hope I get this right, but please double check everything yourself. Please always double check data. Data needs to be double, triple checked, right? We can never confirm something too many times. Even after we know it for sure, we can still check again. So the Dualtron Storm Limited came with a fast charger, right? I think they call it a fast charger. Let's see what it says on here. Lithium battery fast charger, right? It's called a fast charger, and let's see how much power that's putting out. 95.4 volts. So 95.45 volts at 4 amps. Well, if my calculations are correct, and like I said, please double check for yourself. These cells, when I looked into the battery that what cells this scooter's using, LGM50LT. They're 21700 cells, and they're the 5000 milliamp hours. Now I looked up data on the internet for that cell, and there's assumptions made here, and we should never assume, right? That's why I'm saying check this for yourself. But I know that Dualtron uses the best cells you can get. So the assumption is I'm taking that assumption and applying to my equation here, right? So we know it's this cell, and there's different quality cells of these cells, right? That's what I was reading, if I read and understood correctly. And so with calculating the fact that this battery has 9 parallel cells in parallel, right? If I understand correctly, 24 cells in series, 9 cells in parallel. Well, we make the calculation, we're looking at 30.6 amps. So we can round that off to 30 amps, okay? Just above 30 amps. So I don't know if my current Roger charger can do that. I had it up to 25 amps for the Dualtron Thunder 2, and I need to calculate still what that battery's maximum charge current is. I know the battery management system could handle for a 56 amp charge, a 56 amp charge rate, but what can the cells handle and what can the wires handle, right? We have to check all these numbers. So I'm going to check again on the Dualtron Thunder 2. I'm going to recalculate that, and I did not make all the calculations on the. I was just on the Dualtron Thunder 2. I was just seeing if the battery would get warm at a certain charge power, and I got up to 25 amps. And when the weather was cold, around 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, that battery stayed ambient temperature. I was told the battery can get warm a little bit, but should not get hot, right? So I'm going to go back to the Dualtron Storm Limited now with a 45 amp hour battery. The Dualtron Thunder 2 has a 40 amp hour battery, and it's a lower voltage, right? But what we're looking for, I think, is how many cells are in parallel. It's not how many cells are in series, right? It's how many are in parallel. If I understand correctly, that tells us how much current we can put in to the battery, if I understand correctly. But again, please confirm all this for yourself. But theoretically, if we look at just as a theoretical thought experiment based on the data that I have found, and like I said, making some assumptions that this really is the best battery you can get, which I do believe it is. I think that Dualtron just goes with the best cells you can get. I know Voro Motors is doing that as well, with the Roadrunner Pro and other scooters. I know that they're using the best cells that are available. And now I would never say that someone should fast charge their battery. In fact, I'm going to say do not fast charge your battery, because you want your battery to last as long as possible, right? I'm looking for the fastest charge rate because I've always fast charged all of my batteries in everything I've owned and had in my life. And if I'm charging at electric vehicle charging stations, I want to get out of that charging station as fast as I can so that electric vehicles can charge their cars as quickly as possible. So I don't want to be there for hours, right? So at 30 amps, at 30.6, right? 30.6, which is just like 31 amps, right? But we can just go with 30 amps. At 30 amps, at 94 volts, right? 94 volts, 30 amps. That's a lot of power. This will charge in So if it's a 45 amp hour battery, that means if I charged it at 45 amps, it would take, theoretically, it would take 1 hour to charge at 94 volts, right? So because I'm going to be charging it at 30 amps, when I get a 30 amp charger, I'm still looking for one, because I have the Roger charger right now, which goes up to, let's see, 84 volts. At 84 volts, it was letting me put in 25 amps into the Dualtron Thunder 2. And now this scooter's a 94 volt battery, or 95 volts fully charged. They call it an 84 volt nominal, so it's 94 volts, 95 volts fully charged, 45 amp hour battery. That's a lot of watts, right? But now in my home where I live, it's not going to be able to, I don't think I could pull that much power from the wall unless I was plugged into a 220 volt, but even then I don't think I would have access to enough power. But for electric vehicle charging stations, which is where I primarily charge, with the J1772 to 5-15 charge adapter, which Roger sells those. You can just look up Roger Charger, and he sells those adapters, or Alien Ride's website. Alien Rides also has a YouTube channel. I bought the Alien Rides very small adapter, which lets me plug in it's like a 110 plug, which is a 5-15 plug, and it adapts it to the 240 volt level 2 electric vehicle charging station. And it's a very small plug, which is really nice. It's very compact and small. And that plug, when I purchased it, I think it was approximately $100. Prices change, so please confirm that for yourself. And I usually buy more than one thing, so I'm not certain of that price, but I do think it was approximately $100 just for that charged adapter, which is very good. And then the Roger charger's auto sensing. It senses the voltage that's coming into it and it adjusts automatically. So if you're plugged into 110 or 220, you can just plug it in and the charger will adjust to that automatically. Some chargers you have to manually switch it between 220 and 110, or 120 and 240. So it's really important to make sure your charger can do that before plugging into an electric vehicle charging station. And like I said before, never overcharge your scooter. Never put more power in it than is recommended. I do experiments, and I like taking things to the limit. So if something tells me I can charge at 30 amps, if the calculations are 30 amps, I want to charge it at 30 amps and I want to see what happens. I will be watching the plug wires. I'm going to open all this up. I'll take this off by taking these screws off here. And again, I'm not encouraging anyone to do what I'm doing. I'm just sharing my experience with you, my plan and my experience and my journey of learning. I'll be watching these two plugs. I'm going to use two plugs because that divides the load. If I just put 30 amps into one plug, that would be probably too much. But in two, that's only 15 amps each plug. Now, if those wires happen to be small, I know Dualtron uses really thick wires on everything, but if these happen to be getting warm at all, I'll put a thicker wire in there going to the BMS or to the battery or both or whatever's needed. I will increase the diameter of the battery. I would say that because there's other people in the world that like fast charging as well, if those wires do get warm, I'll let you know, and then I would also let Dualtron know, because for people like myself that want to charge the battery at the maximum rated capacity, it would be nice to be able to actually do that and not have wires warm up, because some people do express concern about the charge wires, saying that many scooters have small wires and Dualtron has thicker wires, but that doesn't mean that the Dualtron wires can handle that really high current. Can they? I don't know. We'll find out. So I don't have that charger, that powerful of a charger yet. I do have my current Roger charger, and I could just see what that can do. I will be testing that. Whatever the limits of that are. I don't know if it's going to be 94 volts at 15 amps, 20 amps, or 25 amps, but I do know the calculations indicate that I can go up to 30 amps with this 40 amp hour battery, and that should be able to charge the battery from completely depleted, 0%, up to 100% in approximately 1.5 hours. Fully charged in 1.5 hours. So I was told the battery can get warm, and that's okay, but not get hot. And if one cell gets hot, that means it has a bad cell, and that it's translating that energy into heat rather than storing it as energy, right, to be used. So I will be noticing that as well. Now, this scooter is brand new. It hasn't been ridden yet. I always prepare anything I buy to my preferences, which is I prefer a thumb throttle. So I went ahead and put a thumb throttle on there, which requires opening this up and soldering the wires where the trigger throttle usually goes. Let me think about this. There's like a little, I'll show you what it is that I cut here. If I could find it. Let's see if I can find this thing. Yeah, it's right here. I don't know what you call this, but this little thing here is what I cut off inside that. Did I just lose it? No. See this little thing here? I don't know what this is called. It has 3 wires that go into it though. And this part passes by a magnet. And I'll show you the magnet that passes by. It's right here. And this is on the throttle that came with the scooter originally on the trigger finger throttle. See this? And see that magnet on the side? So that magnet passes by that little thing I just showed you right now, the little electronic part. This passes by it, and when you pull the throttle, that moves, and it causes the scooter to move. Now, what I did was I cut that little part out, and the 3 wires that stuck out, the 3 pins that stuck out of there, I have to solder to. I bought a bunch of these because whenever I get a Dualtron scooter, the first thing I do is put a thumb throttle on it. So I bought a bunch of these. I don't know if it was Alibaba or AliExpress, which one it was, but I bought a lot of these. Okay, and as you can see, this is what's often called an up-down thumb throttle, right? Because there's a sideways thumb throttle that goes like sideways, and there's one that goes up and down. And the up and down throttle is my preference. That's my preference. But my ultimate preference is what the Roadrunner Pro has, which is this. It's this throttle, and it even has a cable in it, which I love that. This is beautiful. I just can't wait to ride that. I haven't ridden the Roadrunner Pro yet, or the Dualtron Storm Limited. I'm so excited about riding them. I'm just getting them all ready for my preferences, right? So I already put the thumb throttle on here, and it required the soldering of these 3 wires here. And someone made a great video. If you just type in EY3 thumb throttle modification on YouTube, you'll see a video. And the focus is not perfect, but he explains the configuration of how to solder the wires. And again, I'm not recommending anyone do that themselves. I recommend you have a professional do it, or buying the entire piece that's for your scooter, right? It has to be the right one. So you have to make sure it's for the Dualtron Storm Limited, if that's what you have, or whatever scooter you have, it has to be the correct one for that. And then that would just plug into the back. I kept this part, the thumb reader, and I have this now, the thumb throttle. So this is ready to go. And that's why I'm calculating the charge rate, because I plan on always charging fast. That's just a part of, that's just, to me, that's a part of the life of the scooter. So when people say, oh, but you decrease the life of the scooter by charging it fast, to me, that is the life of the scooter. I don't think of it like, oh, if I charge slow, it'll last this many more charge cycles. I don't think of it that way. To me, I'm not going to occupy a charging station, electric vehicle charging station, for hours, for several hours. But if I can do 1.5 hours and I'm fully charged, and then I let electric vehicle charge behind me, that's great. If I come home and I can charge fast, I don't know what the maximum my wall can only let out about. I think our wall outlets are rated at like 1800 watts. Now, if it's a 240 volt, which I do also have that, I have to see how many watts that can handle, because that may still allow me to charge in under 2 hours possibly at home. But the preference is just to have the small Roger charger, which I'm calling it small because for what it can do, I think it's very compact. And I am actively looking for a more powerful charger, and I know they're out there. I know there's like some 50 amp chargers that can charge at 100, between 60 volts and 130 volts. And if you look up Ginger on Wheels, he has a high-powered charger. If you look up, if you want a charger that kind of like does some of the work for you, I think, if I understand correctly, Alien Ride's website, if you go to Alien Ride's website, he also has that J1772 charge adapter, J1772 to 5-15, which is a regular plug outlet to a level 2 charging station, electric vehicle charging station. He also has a hypercharger on there called a hypercharger. I think it's just under $300 last time I checked. I don't know if there's a glitch on the website, but I saw that there was the same charger going for like around $400 or $500. I don't know if that's a glitch or a mistake on the, or a duplicate, and it's the same thing, but the price is different. I don't know what's happening there. You have to check into that. But I do know that I saw one on there for around the same price that Roger sells his chargers, which is around $300 approximately. Right, those prices do change because materials change and things change. The hypercharger on Alien Ride's website, it also, if I understand correctly, it does have variable voltage as well and variable current, which means you can replace all of your chargers. All you need is the plugs now, right? I'm looking at that right now. I'm facing that right now with this Dualtron Storm Limited. I'm trying to find the plugs. I'm driving around, going to the hobby stores, asking anyone if they can help me, and asking them how would they find this plug, right? And how would you find this plug? If you had to get this plug, how would you find it? So, this plug, and I'll show it to you right now. It's a safety plug. You see what they did here? If something falls in there, Cameron, this is what Cameron was asking for. I mean, talk about ask and you shall receive, right? Cameron said the old style, the pins could hit each other. That's very dangerous. Look how these are protected. This is totally safe. See how safe this is? Look at this. I love what they did. I love it. So there's some words right there. CNL, or is that an L or a U? It's CNLINKO. And that says push on it. It says LP16, and then there's some other information that was given when I spoke to Mini Motors USA about what that charge plug is called. I think they call it an insulated plug there. I don't know if it's also called the GX16 or some other information like that. But if you look at this plug, I need 2 of these. I want to use 2 of these going into the Roger charger, right? So I'm looking for that, and what I may have to do is just buy another charger. Because many of the Dualtrons are now using this plug, I could just buy the lowest cost charger that's available and then just cut the wire off it, cut it at the full length, right? So cut it right, like leave it right there, leave some room here so a cord can be put back on here someday if this was ever wanted to be used as an emergency, or if I just wanted to sell it or something. I could, have a proper cord on there. I really wish I could find these plugs. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll put some time into looking for that. But you see how it locks and everything? Very nice plug. So let's see how this goes in here. Let's go ahead and plug it in. Let's plug that in. You ready? Boom. Look at that. You can't take it off unless you push that button in. Very good. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm going to the limit. I mean, talk about fast charging. What are we talking about here? Okay, what are we talking about here? If fast charging, if they're calling this, if this is being called a fast charger, and it's charging at DC output 4 amps, 95 volts, 4 amps, but the battery, if the battery can handle 30 amps, I'm gonna test it at 30 amps, right? So I guess if 4 amps is fast charging, then what's 30 amps? I guess that's called ludicrous charging. Is that what they call it? Is that what the Tesla's called, the ludicrous mode? I guess we can call it ludicrous charging. Maybe I'll just call it that, unless there's another name. But for now, we can call it ludicrous charging. And yeah, like I said, it's not about cycle life. It's about getting this thing charged as fast as I can, safely charged as fast as I can. What's the limits? What's the manufacturer rated max charge, and not going beyond that, and possibly going 10% below that, right? 10% or 20% below the max, and just keep it. And to me, that's taking care of the cells and getting my needs met, which my needs is to charge as fast as possible. That's just me though. I'm not recommending anyone else do that. I'm not saying you should do that, okay? But I will be charging in approximately 1.5 hours, which is what I did with the Dualtron Thunder 2 at charging it at 25 amps. I think it charged in 1.5 hours at that power, and everything stayed room temperature. But I'm not recommending anyone do that. This is for informational purposes only, and I'm just sharing my experience with you and my journey. Okay, everyone, True Zero Emission signing off now. Really excited about this powerful scooter that also can handle powerful charging, right? What's the limit of how fast the scooter can be charged? I want to know that for every scooter I own. I also want to know what on this one. I want to know what the battery management system can handle on this. On the Dualtron Thunder 2, I know for sure that it has a 56 amp charge BMS in it, battery management system. 56 amps. Now I think that is definitely more than the battery can handle. Like I said, I charged at 25 amps and it did very well. But what's the limit of this, right? So far it looks like it could be around 30 amps, and I'll test that. Okay everyone, True Zero Emission signing off. See you in the next video. Bye everyone.